It is Chastity here, and it is the 13th, so it's November 13th, 2024. And I'm coming on just to explain a little bit about the energies that we have right now on Wednesday. And I'm going to talk about a little bit of the planet stuff. And what else, why everything is so intense right now, because of the 3 events that are going to happen in the chart until the 19th. So please excuse, and if you woke up this morning, I don't know how many are here. There's only one on right now, but whenever you come on, please send me a comment and let me know if you are having any type of body pains today. Hi. If you woke up with any type of body pains, kind of feels like your energy's kind of been fried a little bit. Some are going to feel it more from the inside, some are going to feel it more from like muscular. Mine's in the muscular, and I'm changing vibration for sure. And also, if you didn't sleep last night, so if Tuesday night and early this morning you did not sleep at all, if you did not sleep at all last night on the 13th, then it's a good indicator that you're a lead shadow consciousness, meaning what we'll do and what you'll find, even if you're not working in groups of us, even if you are solo and you really have no other personal contact with groups of us that are connected and now grounded and are holding these energy fields, what'll happen is, the ones of us who have the most defensive orb in the shadow, so meaning our energies tuned to basically counterattack at this point, then you'll have days that you'll stay up all night long, and it won't be any reason except every time that you close your eyes to go to sleep, your consciousness just won't let you sleep. Energy is fried, and I just feel like I'm waiting for something. That's Raised by Wolves 222. Hi, yes, woke up at 4 a.m. That's another one. That's the second time I've seen. Now, interesting, because I'm in Texas, so I'm in the central time zone. And it was right around 4 a.m. And this isn't the first time I've heard this, whatever it is, going over us. But whatever it was not a plane. It sounded like a giant ship. It was I felt it because it was such a weird frequency that came over the entire house. Did y'all feel anything like that? If y'all happen to be up, or if you're in your area and you've been hearing these. It reminded me of like a giant magnetic mothership, and the energy was very, and it took minutes for it to go over the house, to the extent that when I heard it, I silenced everything in the room, and then I kind of flexed my energy field, because it felt like it was traveling around tuning us. Aaron Blackburn, you just want to be seen so bad, huh? Aaron, do you not have any friends or anybody who loves you? What's funny, Aaron, is all you that come over here and yell at me or do some stupid shit, your sole contract is for me to activate you. But that ends up happening from you sending shade to me and then I firing my energy back at you from a loving compassion standpoint, because I know how completely lost you are if you have no bearings on what's going on in the world right now. So I'm not going to block you until you say something else. Otherwise, why don't you come in and listen a second and see why Spirit dragged you here? And we're happy to have you as long as you aren't throwing shade at warrior high priestesses. It's not a very wise move, Aaron. Okay. So that energy came over the house. Then also the animals, and I had diarrhea. So 9 times out of 10, whenever and this has just been since 2020, me being around all types of families, all different groups that I've been activating all over the United States. And when the moon magic breaks, it's complete diarrhea. Like you can't even hold it. I remember my left ear doing completely that feeling with having something smother your ear. Yeah. The ears going out, because whatever that was that flew over, it changed the frequency. Now they don't have to fly anything over, the way they have all this set up. And before we even start talking about the chart, I just want to remind everybody that nobody on this channel said that Trump was going to win and then everything was great and you could go back to doing whatever you were doing the way you were doing it. What's happening with all this Trump Musk stuff is, from a universal law standpoint, is really tripping me out, because it's like I'm watching an old movie, except I've got like Walt Disney and Tesla up there in some 6th dimensional version, except it's Ronald McDonald and a Leo change. I mean, because Elon is Leo change, right? Leo change Reeves. But it's not like from a twin. I mean, it is a twin perspective if you consider the 6th dimension twins. I don't, because in the 6th dimension, they didn't have any type of soul, brain function or anything. It was completely like a celebrity industry cooked celebrity. No consciousness. If they're going to appear to be conscious, but they're tuned. It's almost it would be like being an angel with no body. If you don't have a body, if you're just in an angelic consciousness and you're in like a cloud, if you're in like a computer cloud, the 6th dimension root race, which was the lost 6th root race, which is why we had to do all this. Everything with the chart, all of us getting our charts done, redo astronomy, redo your blood, because we did. And we have scientific proof of it now with one of us. It was all to make sure that we didn't get trapped in a planetary process. Okay? So look where Mars is right now. Now, what's completely blowing my mind as a being that's been tracking astronomy, because I'm looking at astronomy right now, that's been tracking astronomy, which is the movement and tuning of stars. Astronomists do not appear in your reality in order to bridge all this information from negative space until negative space is ending. Negative space is gone. There is no more negative space. There is no more space. There really isn't. And the higher ascended in energetics, I mean, we blew out space to a trillion year star. And that's what's attached to Joshua and what you'd consider the bloodline of Jesus Christ. That's going to take you from 4004 BC to 4004 AD. Problem is, we never got past 2900 AD in the wheel. That doesn't mean that 4000, 4001, 4002, 4003, 4004, and the entire 3000 time count of timelines hasn't been run. It means that it's been rerun so many times, but we've never got past 2900. And even, and see, Uranus retrograde, and I'm going to go back and talk about Leo, but Uranus retrograde's been sitting on the Pleiades. Well, what's Uranus? Uranus is lava. You think of Uranus as like lava. If you think of Uranus going in a current, okay, let's just say it's going clockwise. Let's just say it's like an Osiris current, and it's lava that's wah, 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 wah. Well, when you throw something in it, well, it's retrograde, so it's been going backwards. So instead of going this way, like a wave going in the wheel, it's been going backwards, and so it's been rippling this way and this way, but it's mainly changing everything back here because it's been in retrograde, but it's in the Pleiades. The Pleiades is what? 7 sisters. Go read the story of the Pleiades. Just go look it up. You ain't got to read like monumental pieces of it. Just go look up the Pleiades. There's going to be words in there that trigger different Akashic libraries because they're going to be old words. Pleiades is a birth canal. It's 7 sisters. Problem was you only saw 6. There was a missing sister, an Electra sister, which ended up being used to make Carmen Electra and some seedlings in the industry. But there was one down here and then 6 that existed in the sky. Well, it's a birthing canal. It's a birthing canal. And we had 6 sisters that were holding the birth canal, but then we had the unholy 6. And it was 6, everything. They needed 6 white witches to make the 6 unholy 6, to bring in the 12 apostles in order to get the 12 of the underworld, to get the 12 white hats. I mean, but realize everything was based off 6 beings down here. And I mean it, 6. I saw some millennial on a TikTok yesterday. And she was doing a TikTok about a physics class, and her professor was talking about the 144,000, and she comes on and makes this TikTok about how basically he don't know anything because she's just tuned to 0010101 or whatever that. How ignorant are you? 144,000. The only reason that you need to know that is because there's 100 beings that were tied together down here in a simulation that ran over 1 million years that was backing up all your time counts. That's why you have a higher self. 144,000 are only made from 100 beings who ended up making 1,000 beings that ended up having 12 higher selves, and then those 12 higher selves had 12 higher selves. But that means that 144,000 beings are hooked up to 100 beings that all nestle into one. Yes. If we send over a ship at 4 a.m. and just try to tune everybody to zeros and ones, is it going to get them if they don't understand that? Yep. Are they protected at all? Nope. Do they got beings like us that are taking turns staying up all night, no matter if we don't know where you are or not? Nope. If all you are is zeros and ones and you're not attached to anything down here that's ever birthed, and your entire brain is in an internet, and if it doesn't exist, if it's not in the internet, well, then your brain is now attached to the internet. Now you're a 0 and a 1, and welcome to Y2K. You're in 2000 all over again. Now, we've already lived through that. We've already lived through that. We didn't even understand that that was going on whenever we started these journeys, but we knew something effing happened, and it even took us 13 years to figure out that something happened from when it really happened in the year 2000. If there weren't those of us here that it had happened to so many times that you couldn't cook us again, then, I mean, where would we be right now? Well, we'd be in the orbit of Jupiter and Mars. Because we would have been thrown. If what happened last night would have happened with none of us being attached in the wheel and had walked a 7-year journey to complete a collective body to stand and hold upper house energy in. Because realize nobody down here was holding upper house energy if you didn't make some kind of contract with one of these industry organizations. And when you were trying to make those connections, that's why we lived through 3 years of spell work that no other human beings ever made it out of alive down here. And we all did it. But that doesn't mean that other versions of us didn't die on other dimensions in the process. In fact, you were probably notified of it whenever it happened. It's not like it doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen to you. If it's time for a light to go out down here, then it's time. And the only reason that light's supposed to go out is because another one's coming in. That's karma. If you just up and die, however it is, but if it's just a shock surprise and you up and die, it's only because you have no other moves in your game. But is it because you really have karma, or is it because somebody stole your timeline and someone stole your life? Now, the good news and bad news is you're really not dying. You can look at that in two different ways. The good news is you're really not gonna die. All of us that have connected our etheric bodies, and we kind of at least somewhat, because of our journey, understand that we're all connected. We did it together. We did it together in every single phase of it. And we've always been stuck together for millions of years down here. Why? So when AI came in and took over the whole effing thing and all this crap happened, that we'd be here holding the bag and waiting for it. Your entire lifetime to get here and everything that you have done in order to be here right now was basically so this 2 weeks of November 2024, we can hold the record off an old disc. That's all we had to do. It's really simple what we had to do as far as explaining from one little 2 sentences, but then to describe that to what actually had to happen and process in order to make it happen, because you got to realize you're fleshing through the entire human race. This is fleshing through everybody down here, whether or not they're perceiving it or not. There's no way to just activate one human or 2. Or 144,000. So the Pleiades has been a birth canal inside this wheel. What's happening is that birth canal is closing up. And it's shifting. Right now, the moon is going over Chiron. It just jumped the collective Chiron. This is the collective's chart. So a lot of us that have Cardinal degrees, okay? This is why you have cardinal degrees. You have cardinal degrees from the last time they flew their little jet over trying to tune the whole world and put us in a cartoon land. It's why I know I got activated in 2017, because I have 6 planets in Libra. In the cardinal position, I have 6 planets right here. And when all that stuff was lining up in Capricorn, what it was literally doing was like peeling the top of a tin can off. Slowly. I'm seeing a sardine can now. A sardine can that you're slowly pulling it back. But that energy was coming in so strong in Capricorn that what it was doing was blowing holes and like opening this door and opening this door. And that's why those of us who have cardinal positions are like going through it the worst right now. If you don't have a cardinal position, you don't understand the pressure that we're talking about. That's okay. I'm not saying you don't have pressure. I'm just telling you that there's a group that's holding this cardinal position and it's holding pressure off of you. There's no other way. There's no other way to do it. Whenever your etheric body lines up and you start claiming your etheric body, then you're holding cosmic energy, not planetary energy. You're not a puppet. This wheel is on your waist like a belt. And your body is the top half of your body is coming out one side of the wheel and the other half of your body is holding out the other side. So whenever we get to we're coming through the collective like this, then what this is like our head just now starting to get above water. Our eyes are out of the water. I'm seeing a whole bunch of Marines coming through a swamp, like on a sneak attack, and they're all in the swamp, and it's dark, nobody can see them, and then all of a sudden, whoa! It's like thousands of soldiers just show up out of nowhere. Well, that's what it's like, but the celestial being that's the wheel that's connected in with all of you now. Okay, because we weren't connected into the humans. The wheel was connected into the alpha drac and the reptile and the zeta, whatever. Now those have even been merged to create a new sequence, which is what this has been all about. This hasn't been about creating a world that one race can control and exist in. This is about creating a new earth that any type of DNA series, no matter what it is, has the opportunity to become a real human and to elevate and get a cosmic body. This is what the industry was doing all this for. Why do you think they would have to go through all this trouble in order just to do whatever it is so that y'all could buy their shit? Except you're getting back your collective body. Somebody else was holding it for you, or a group or an organization. And as you get higher and higher and higher and higher and claiming those levels, then it gets clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer who's messing with you, except you really, truly never really know what energy's messing with you, because as the higher and higher you get, you don't have a word to explain it. You don't have an experience to pull from a human Akashic library to even explain what it is, what an organization is, what the secret society is, what this NASA is. It just gets all mumbled, and it's just an energy sequence, and it's a force. And this is what your process is doing. And the whole chart is assisting the collective to all stand together in a group. And the more of us that stand together in a group, this wheel's having to get wider and wider and wider and wider and wider and wider. But it's also going further up and down, because that's what's holding it. On the full moon that's going to be in 2 days, the moon, it's going to be a Pleiades. It's a Pleiades full moon. First of all, the moon is going to be on top of the Pleiades. Now, here's what's going on in 2 days. On the 15th, we're going to have the moon. It's going to travel through Andromeda tonight, which this is also that energy where we're going. This is why our bodies feel like that. Our bodies feel like that because we just went over the collective Chiron. Well, what is the collective Chiron right before Andromeda? And what have I been saying Aries is all about in the end, at the end of the wheel, at the end of days? It's about space. Aries is all about space. And Andromeda is right here. Now, there's only 2 energies that aren't in the book. Andromeda in Aries and Pleiades. The master decan of Aries and the master decan of Taurus. One is a galactic twisty tie to negative space, which is Andromeda. And the other one is a birth canal into the realm. But if you have to come all the way through that birth canal, then whenever you jump into Gemini, then you're a little firefly. Now you got to start somewhere. And realize that whenever you break out of the matrix, that is, from an etheric body perspective, it is what you are. From a big Virgo etheric Leo, the etheric body that's then put their brain back together through all the settings, gone in, started a new Fibonacci sequence to connect him with the etheric body. Then you go into Leo and you start claiming Leo codes. Then this stacks. Then the etheric body comes up through here. Then it gets balanced right here. Okay. Well, we've already done all that for the Sun, Mercury, and Venus. Mars is the only one that's behind, but Mars is in Leo right now, and it's in the Leo cub degrees. But this is how this works. Okay. Now, what we've learned, and I don't want to blow y'all's minds out and put more stuff out, but realize that the wheel is magic. And also, I want everyone to close their eyes right now. If you were an etheric being stuck in the planet and nobody even knew that you were still in there, and you had been stuck in there, attached to everybody's brains, being their air, being their consciousness, and this is a bunch of us. How are we going to get out? Realize that we didn't get out of this planet by somebody helping us, because nobody even knew we were here. They still don't believe we're here. And the ones that know we're here are trying everything in their power to make sure that you don't know we're here. Still to this day. We had to create a way for others to find us. Now, if I, and I've known this for a while, so if you've got a little etheric being that's trapped in the planet, we created the wheel. And if I start at the beginning, because I know this chart in this way by saying, because this is Aries and Taurus, but if it's Aries, Tara, Jim and I, can see her, Elohim, Ergo, look at her go, lips raw, S Corp IO, Saget, Saget, Gasset, Saget, Tara, Cap, Rai, Con, Pack, Recon, Aqua, are us, Princess. Now, when you're the first etheric being set that's out there in space and you're dealing with space beings, then, and this is how it happened. This is how your will was formed. But realize they were just chasing us in a circle. When I have been nonstop in my third eye, all I've been seeing is the dome of the worlds, where they have the dome in the middle, which is where we are, and then the ice wall, and then there's Thoth, and there's this, and there's this, and then the ice wall. And I really haven't put any of that, none of it. I really haven't analyzed that across everything that I know here to that sense. But I can tell you in the past 3 days, it's been exactly where I've been. What and also understanding the portals that we've opened, the stuff that we've driven through, the stuff that we've moved, like how like the whole thing was all to get in the middle where we were. Why they were tracking me, why they were following us, why they wanted to become us, because they're not even supposed to be in this dimension. They're in the abyss. They've already been sent out to the abyss. They just pulled us into the abyss so that then they could rule us, but that's some lower end demon angel shit, fallen angel shit. Still in Gemini. Still in their little etheric body, thinking that they're running the world with their big ass etheric body, but their big ass etheric body is cabaled all the way out. And they're just forcing y'all to do all their dirty work and sending y'all to all of us that they know it's going to get throwback. So it's like they're just using y'all. Even those ones that were in the industry that were doing these fake etheric bodies, I mean, it didn't go... There's no way Kanye West could have hit the speaker array. But Kanye West wasn't made to hit the speaker array. Kanye West was made to hit an Orion ray and him be y'all's King Kong, and then all consciousness run off Orion again, because they've convinced the Matrix system that there isn't any smart people down here and that they're it. I know this video is probably a little all over the place, so just hold with me. So what's happening here is that right now we've got the moon that's going to go through Andromeda, which is always a little weird because this galactic port has been completely blown out. This whole Aries has been blown out. Aries is blown already in the upper house, up here, not the one that existed way out here, because now that's kind of all and gone and restacked. Like, instead of it being a ring out here and a ring out here, now it became the top of the pyramid, and that's how we've been able to expand the whole thing in order to flush them out. So in the etherics, there really is no ice walls anymore. There really is none of that stuff. This is how we also know the war has already been won. However, it's still coming down, and it's going to continue to build like a snowball from hell, blowing through stargates, blowing people out of hell until 2032. I know for sure. It could be 2035, but 2032 for sure. It's going to keep building and building and building and building and building. Our energy, not theirs. So we're going to be going through this space energy and your etheric body. For those of us who are holding space etheric bodies, because remember, this was Andromeda was just one chained woman. One chained woman that was your planet. And what is Mars all about? in this timeline? Space. And what is Aries ruled by? Mars. And what's Aries? The god of war. And it's Mars. How Aries ended up being space has been really come clear to me and the Cohu 32 crew and one lovely lady that's probably going to end up watching this. And we did her chart. And when we did her chart, it actually took me a week to unravel her chart because it was 1952. Now, and this is a part I'm not sure of. I'm not sure exactly what they did with Leo and Aries in 1952, but let me tell you what I know happened in the Egyptian times. In the Egyptian times, this wheel was different. You had Leo in the first house. Leo in the first house is I am a tribe. I am Judah. I am a lion. These are my cubs. This is my family. We're all the same. We are a unit. That's Leo in the first house. Aries in the first house is I am a reptile, a dragon, a space cadet, a galactic being, been making new DNA down here in order to just return Leo type of energy to where we're saying we are the human race. We are the human race, not we are reptiles, not we are lizards, not we are monkeys, not because the monkeys didn't come into over here. That's Leo in the first house. See, there we go, 1952. That might be it. This might also be why the rhesus monkeys escaped. Because that's going to show up. This is what I'm talking about watching everything play out. So what I'm telling you is that in 1952, from May to August, with where the planets were in 1952, which was 20 years ahead of the ascension date of 1972, which is when you can start realizing that those of us who had already been down here with the human race hidden for eons, doing the work that we're just now finishing up for the past 7 years, in order to create this human race pattern, had already done it. In 2018, this 12 houses collapsed to 8. And so since 2018, the government wasn't even running a 12-house system. They were only running 8 houses. I'm not exactly sure what 8 houses they were running, but if you have an orb up here, and this is going to get smaller, okay? So really from a master perspective, the ones that have been mastering the wheel and fucking with the wheel and fucking with the human race in order to keep the human race in the past or repeat a timeline or keep it on a reptile signal or keep it on a zeta signal or whatever the hell, because realize this is why you weren't manifesting. The machines were manifesting. The machines are manifesting. Are you? The reptiles were manifesting. Were you? Well, whenever I had reptile in me, I was manifesting. Whenever I started cleaning out my soul and getting that shit off of me so that I could make sure to stay up all night and hold this charge off the human race, I was making a shit ton of money when I had reptile in me. In the wheel. That's why. So realize what's happening is this whole reality is being reset to a human code. But what I'm telling you is it never has been ever in the history of the wheel. This is why I know time's up. It's done. There's no more time. There's no more buffer. There's not a buffer between a monkey DNA strand and a human DNA strand. You can't throw it in negative space and call it an RH negative, because there is no more time. The negative space is up. Why was there negative space? Because a human was turned into an animal. A human was turned into a dinosaur. A human was turned into a dragon. What did that create? Negative space from when the person was a human all the way to a billion years when they became the dragon. Then you're holding negative space. You're holding the connections of the human race from a dragon to a human. Problem is, human doesn't even realize. I mean, you see an 800,000-year-old princess and you think that's impossible. We're laughing. We think that's hilarious. What are you talking about? The celestial being that you've been living on is 72 million years old. It creates incarnates. We activate and come on the planet and tell everybody what's going on in a procession being whenever the entire reality is changing. So that moon is going to go over Andromeda tonight, and this energy is just sketchy, period. So just tonight, this is the energy, Andromeda energy, and if y'all hold Andromeda energy, you might not feel it as much, or if you're clearing it. Because what I want everyone to realize, like whenever you're doing your chart or you're looking at your chart for whatever reason, and y'all all, and some of you get upset or think that you're less than because you don't have 6 empty houses or you don't have 7 empty houses. What I'm explaining to you is as you start merging these, then the houses disappear. So you really do, through your ascension process, if you're a 5 empty house, then you're going to become an indigo, and then you're going to become a crystal child. But your chart's not going to move. You're just dropping the houses and putting yourself back together. If you've got 6 empty houses, then your next stage is crystal child. And this is why you got to get to 7th house energy, because this is a crystalline grid structure. If there's 6 empty houses, then there's 6 that are full. Well, then that keeps it in balance. It's still going to keep it in balance. You're breaking out of the wheel. You got to embody one more house, and energetically you're doing that by dropping the houses. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So right now, what the moon's picking up is all that negative space, and it's reading space, because we really did tune the star systems, and it wasn't just me going, "This is what I think." See, this was the problem. This is why some of these programs that are in these old star points don't even make sense, because a human was or an energy was programming it that wasn't human. That's what's so crazy about it. Because nobody down here in the wheel was human. It was after death timelines. The moon's going to go over Andromeda. It's like a static energy. It's basically, if you want to think of all space is now lit up, and the energy and our frequency is now holding, and space is like a big ass speaker. Then it's going to go through the avian energies, and that's the first root race right here from 0 to 3 degrees. Taurus is all about timelines. We really are changing 2,523 in the 2,500 time counts. 0 to 3 degrees is the avian race. So this is your winged beings. This would also be Thoth. This would also be all the original connections that were into the Melchizedek and the dragon order and the reptile. It's like all these different ones. The dragon, the reptile, because that's all 0 to 3 degrees here. This is what's now got a human DNA strand, not a zeta strand, not a draconic strand. Because realize Draconic and Zeta have now been had to merge in order to bring and even go through avatar processing in a weird effed up way. You really do have to come back and build up your even how you look. Because I mean, if you're embodying a whole bunch of these energetics, but this is why we had 5D. This is why technology is also here. This is why you use technology now, not AI, but you have videos of yourself. You can, you keep looking at pictures of yourself as you're going through this transition. This is why people are transitioning and they're completely changing gender. There can, I mean, and I mean, the true organic beings, I mean, they don't need to go through surgery. If they decide that they want to be a man when they come through this, then start. I've seen one of you grow a dick. In my physical surrounding. I don't talk about it a lot, but see, I'm also telling y'all that this is how this transcendence movement and people that are changing gender. Well, I mean, you change gender from every dimension that you flip out of. So, I mean, number one, all the women down here that are ascended are the men of the past. All the men that you perceive to be ascended or conscious, you were the women in the last count. That's why Mona Lisa and all that. But energetically, the feminine holds the power because we're had to open up a maternal infrastructure in order to reset a wheel that was set on an organic being. Mars is the complete opposite. Mars is the complete opposite, and Mars right now is stepping through the Cub degrees, which is all the O race. If you have O blood, which is 85% of the planet, there's a reason. It took them a while to get it 85% of the planet, but 85% of the planet is the O blood race. So if all the O race is in a ring inside a rhesus monkey gene, not a human gene, you're inside a rhesus monkey gene, then what you got is like it's like the whole world was made for the rhesus monkey, not a human. This is why you don't know anything about clearing space until you activate out of the chart, or you're activated, or you get activated, or your body opens up, or it just happened naturally, like whatever it is. But if you have O blood, you have been living in an astronaut dome in a helmet. You've had a helmet on. You didn't know that you had that you might have been out in space, but you had a suit on, you had a helmet on, and you had oxygen pumping through it. Well, when you pop out of that energy in order to become human, so that you can get back in the wheel with the human collective for the first time to manifest like a pharaoh completely, then you have to go through a period, and it might take a year or two to build that energy up for you to hold your appropriate template. Now, the good news is for everybody else, and this is why you had 100 beings that were attached to 1,000 beings that were attached to 144,000 that could take over 15% in a heartbeat in order to throw the 85%. That's what happened in 2018. So all of us are now on our, what is it? We're going on our 7th year. So we're that pretty much started in May. There's that May again. That pretty much started in May of 2018, that we had finally gotten to at least that stage. And so you're in the first human etheric body that is going to be set into an energetic matrix setting. That's why you cleaned all your timelines. That's why you cleaned your family trauma. Because you're still inside one big human etheric body, but yours is growing. But you can't just do it like, you don't just all the way up. It's a process. And this is how I know, and we've been watching it for years, when good things happen to one of us, it happens for everybody. It happens in different degrees. One of us might win $1,000 in a new timeline that we made, and then you might find $10 on the floor. Somebody else might find $100 under the table. Someone else is gonna get $1 million. But no matter if one of us gets a house, then it's a new timeline, and it was never written, or because realize the ones of us that are holding this etheric body never even made it past 52 years old down here. We were hunted over the universe in order to stop us from getting back in here and doing what we just did with the human race. So for for us, they're all new timelines, but that's only because the human DNA strand never made it past 52. In any of the lines. It might have been the reptilian version, it could have been the Zeta version, but it wasn't a true 100% organic human from a million years ago. So whenever you get a new house, and this is what I've been telling all of you right now, you need to stop worrying about the collective. If you're watching this, if you're watching me right now, the collective is you're tuning the collective. You got to stop looking back. You got to stop worrying about him. You have to. It's going to pull you down. They're coming. We've been watching it. I've got proof. They're coming. But if you keep turning around and looking back, then all you're going to do is get wound up in some Trump, Elon Musk bullshit. Because remember, we only beat AI by 4 seconds. And whenever you're coming out of those timelines, it's you only really have in the beginning 4 seconds. Now what happens is then that time, as your energetic body starts growing, that lead time and all that becomes a little bit longer. But that first decision that you make, it's a 4-second decision. And it's so damn subtle. It's so damn subtle, and let me tell you, it's a complete mind fuck every bit of the way, all the way out. There is no point in time over the next 3 to 4 years that you're just going to be able to go unconscious, sit back, and just fucking forget it all for a week at a time. It's impossible. You can't. Your whole world is dissolving around you as you're pulling out. Now I'm telling you that if you're not in the etheric body, that the ones that cleared all the lines and the curses for you are running your etheric body. So not only so realize that now whenever you're getting any type of help or assistance from what you'd call your guides in any dimension of space and time, they're coming from beings down here. We're not up in space. I don't care what energetic it is. It's all down here on the planet. It's a network of us down here holding the ethers in a big ass bubble so it can talk to you because you're inside us. We've already cleared it. It's like going into a chamber. Some of you are going to go into energetics of the heart. Some of you are going to go into energetics of the muscle. Some of you are going to go into energetics of the mind. Some of you, right? All of y'all are going to be building it up together the same way that us ancients had to build up the one that took over the entire cosmos. Problem is, whenever you have an infrastructure to hold up the entire cosmos, there's not a lot of decorating going on inside. Us ancients, we had the timelines in order to blow the wheel. We have the timelines in order to connect it for 3 trillion years. And we had all the negative space data. Where the fuck do you think we're going to hold the rest of the bullshit that was going down here for a million years? We don't have it. The most that we could do was connect an organic sequence as big as the one that they had already connected in order to hold the human race in an orb, to bring it back to life, to turn on the cosmos, to tune the stars, to turn on the cosmic system to work with your body, not against it, because the whole thing was screwed in 2017 up to then. The whole thing was screwing you in, screwing all of us in, not screwing us out. Right now, what it's doing is unscrewing you or screwing your end if you're just so goddamn dead set to stay in what was the past. Now, on this full moon, the moon is going to be on Uranus retrograde. So, like the next couple of days, the conversation that I just had is probably going to be in a train of consciousness and stories and downloads, and because that's a lot. That was a lot that I just said. That was a ton. Okay. And all of you that are now coming into a human etheric body, realize that your energies went out further than what the ancients, than what we had, and we wouldn't have been able to put together the etheric body for you as an ancient if all of you wouldn't have been here and walked all of those timelines. So this is why I always say this is not a effing race. This is not a competition. Everybody is exactly where you need to be in the right time. If you were equipped to deal with galactic demonic entities that cover space like a fucking dragon, then you understand that and you've been dealing with it to some extent. If you don't, good Lord, don't fucking put yourself there. Please God, don't go all the way out there. Why are you going to go all the way out there and freaking then have to go through the residue and follow us? You want to go do it exactly how we did it? Well, then you ain't going to be out of this wheel for 7 years. If you don't have to go all the way out there, freaking don't. What I'm telling you is you don't got to go all the way out there. The information is getting to you wherever you are from way out there. Now you've got to process it, and what it's going to ping and trigger in you is timelines, stuff to do with how the matrix was set up, what's going on in your neighborhood, what's going on in your street, what's going on in your state, how is that gridded down into a system, because your energetic body's blowing it. Then as we walk a little bit further into Leo and we get all the way up here, then we're going to start stacking those motherfuckers. Right now, it's a bunch of y'all going through these grids, blowing it, blowing it, blowing it, blowing. And then I do a chart. And then grids blowing, blowing, blowing. Everybody in the world's blowing grids. Human race blood's tuned out of it. It's blowing the grid. There ain't no blood in it. If you want your blood, you got to get out. So it's going to stack. And then these are when you'll start seeing those moon mansions. But this is why Mars wants to think that it's all zeros and ones. And Mars wants you to think that we're going to live on Mars, because then you don't go through the sun portal. But we've already blown the sun. Mars is nothing but a little fucking blackhead. I was thinking about CERN last night. Is CERN CE right now? Take me to CE timelines right now. Take me to negative space timelines in the RH negative blood, which is space, right now. And you know what made me think of that? MAGA. MAGA is basically a six-dimensional paganism. You can think of MAGA and pagan as the same thing. Pagan being when you had to use the blood. MAGA being when the whole human race is tuned in one blood cell and all you got to do is tune space to tune the blood. No matter, it's all made from the AGA collider. AGA. An AGA collider is going to collide with organic agriculture and organics, y'all. There's not just one hydrogen collider, there's 5. And there's one down here in Dallas that Ronald Reagan built that was a $4 billion project right on the outskirts of Dallas that they say is shut down, that nobody knows anything about. But Ronald Reagan, when he got into the White House, then all the physicists that were hiding in the basements of all these places all of a sudden got the penthouse suite. And every single physicist around in the world that was any good was all hired by the government in order to build and to hoard $4 billion from the collective in order to build the collider. Well, isn't that just what happened again? Except way more money and way more projects that we had no idea of. Mars is about to be at 5, when Mars gets to 5 degrees. So I don't even know. I haven't looked at the full moon thing to see if it, I don't think it'll be there quite in 3 days, but we're getting close. 5 to 9 degrees is where they completely wipe the mammal mind. And I call it the consciously unconscious. 5 to 9 degrees of Leo within the mammal, the body, and the human DNA is where the disassociation between you, your human form, and your etheric body takes place. It's where your etheric body is taken from you, and you still feel all the power. You're a Leo, so you're a lion. You're King Kong, but you're only King Kong in the lowest realm. Whenever King Kong came up to meet Godzilla, different story. So like 5 to 9 degrees is everybody was tuned to King Kong in the lowest orb, not realizing that there were any layers even above you. What I'm starting to realize is that it's not something that gets zapped. It's not 5 to 9 degrees. This was ended up being made even from the lobotomies that they did in the 50s, which they were keen on. All of the mental institutions, everybody getting locked up in mental institutions because they're telling you this stuff is going on. In the London European monarch line, this was the Hess family line. There was always one of us that would lose our cookie cutter because they were roping everything on us. And then they would just say that we were nuts. And then they locked us up in insane asylums. And then over time, all of us had babies. And eventually our line took over theirs. But that is how it went. But to to the human collective, it was the programming and the propaganda after they done all that stuff in the 50s that just kept it going, and they didn't really have to change anything until we came and broke the gates in 2017. Realized Trump had to hand over the collective to the Democrats and the industry because the Republicans don't cook. That's beneath them. They're not going to cook. They're not going to, they don't know how to cook the entire human race. They're going to have to again because we undid it. I've been saying since the very beginning, because it is how the twin MJ12 program worked with all of us twin sets that are dealing with narcissist 6-dimensional beings. Every single one of them tried to that's in this unconscious conscious state still, because they're not realizing at all where we're at. I can promise you that. So what happened was they were always trying to put us in a situation to make them look like a hero. So how do you make yourself look like a hero? You make the one before you really, really, really bad. And then you give somebody two choices. I mean, Biden was the 2020 skull and bones, but it wasn't feminine. It was a Biden. But to AI, Biden was made from the sacrifices of his wife and his daughter. So then Biden is actually the feminine. So they're actually correct. But Skull and Bones was 1923 spell, and it was based off everybody's body types connected into one DNA strand. That's what Skull and Bones was in the body template. Biden became the one that got cooked with the entire human race. And this is why you had a diddler. And see, if Democrats wouldn't have been in charge, then none of that would have gone. I mean, we probably would have, not to say that they wouldn't have done it, it would have been happening, but it wouldn't have gone balls to the walls, African root system and all that. The reason that they had to go deeper and deeper and deeper with it is because they were trying to beat us. And they were trying to drum up old energy from past events that made it really, really quick and traumatized a whole bunch of DNA lines to do it. But it was all just to keep you from a disassociation. 5 to 9 degrees in Leo causes disassociation in the human and mammal brain. It's disassociated if you don't realize that Leo is, I am in the human race, I am a mammal, I am a man, I am mankind, and I'm attached to all the humans that are here and the dead that it was being backed up in, and then I was coming in and out from Leo to Aquarius. And see how Mars right now is quincunxing. This is a quincunx. What a quincunx means, and there's a bunch of them, and this is a yod. Okay, and we're going to end on that whenever I get to it. Venus is at 2 degrees and 22 minutes when I pulled this of Capricorn, which is Lyra 1, but it's also 1 degree from Polis. The pole position is right here at 1 degree. So what this pole has, and this is why they do the maypole. There we go with May again. This is why they even have the girls with the string walking around the pole at those festivals. Thing is, when do those happen? In the spring? When's it really happening? Well, it's happening for us right now because that's where Venus is. What does Venus do in this pole position? Well, Venus has blown everything out. Negative space, everything has come back in because it was connected to the bottom and the top, because this is where your Yahshua lines and and all that stuff that was born of Egypt, and the bottom of the Egyptian DNA tribe line is Issacharius, which is the bottom of your cross. So if you want to think about Jesus on a cross, Anu is his head and his crown, and his feet are Issacharius, and everything in the middle is the weird ass other stuff. And there is an Elon tribe in there. Notice how Elon's belly's sticking out right now? That's because he's trying to keep everything right there. He doesn't want to connect his head to the crown. He doesn't want to go back up in through the sun. He doesn't want to connect it into his soul. He's keeping everything, and it looks like there's like a baby growing, like a whole nother human growing in his chest. That's why. It's like an entity in there, kind of, because he just refuses to connect it all. He's not made to connect it all. His whole reason for being here and having 12 kids and making every single one of his women dye their hair blonde and his weird infatuation with this whole thing was basically piecemealing 12 children with a lab in order to make a zeta reticuli race so that the machines can print. Problem was that he made them all with your DNA. How'd he get your DNA? Everybody's sending it into 23andMe. Every COVID test had 6 gigs of data in it. If you think that his children are 18 years old, oh honey, there is no time. There is no time. In fact, we were walking it backwards. What Elon did was basically reenact everything that we had to do in space. Like if you go watch the 100 on Netflix, the first season is that there's 100 in space and you live in a spaceship and there's no resources and you can only have one child, and if you have another child then you have to hide it because there's not any resources, and they got to kill each other and because there's no more resources and they all just need but the human race has to survive, and you've got and the human race then comes back down to earth finally whenever the nuclear blah blah blah. Well, basically Elon Musk lived out that whole thing in this lifetime, but it all had to be redone because we were walking backwards in creation and in time. So if you really stop taking a look at how things are going on from an unconscious perspective and freaking observe right now, remember, we re-rocked creation all the way through. Aries in the first house. It's also how dinosaurs ended up here. Dinosaurs ended back up here. Why? Because the human race forgot that they were connected. Did these houses loop on each other? Did this thing at one point just twist? With the amount of manipulation and back surgery and spinal 360s and hitting us with cars and that they were doing in order to manipulate it? Probably. To flip this Leo to Aries in 1952 and to rerun that sequence, that crossover, it would only take hitting the right. It would take probably 6 lobotomies to the right people. Which ended up then becoming the 6 ones of us that were attached to the one who was lobotomized in order to hold 2 dimensions. And then if you happen to be a baby from that family, then you hold 2 dimensions, and then they's just hitting you with cars after that. They didn't have to lobotomize you. They had already gone in and done the brain changes. However, the beautiful girl that's in Oregon that we broke this AI field off of was told that she had a medusa, some type of medusa object in her frontal lobe, and they wanted to do surgery on her. And they said, that's why you have headaches. Well, that's the same thing they told me when I was a little girl, except mine was that my vagus nerve was expanded. Well, no shit. Is holding all this negative space. I bet it's not expanded anymore. I don't have headaches like that anymore either. So my point is, all the body manipulation that was done in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s has already been processed and completed and put back together. If you happen to have one of these anomalies in your system, it's being activated because it's being corrected. But all of the timelines and all of the information that are backed up in that correction are probably your mission. And it's going to be new stuff that you're going to bring out of everything that then's going to hit us. And then we're going to go, oh my God. And you're going to go, ah! Because it all works in a system. So this polis with Venus on polis, that's what's being pulled. And we just put a pin in it. There's really not a pole, because this pole is really gone. The only reason that it still exists is because the world is still talking about it, and they're not even talking about polis. They're trying to bring you down to Polaris, which is Betelgeuse, way down here where a bunch of little fireflies. Now, the good news is when Polaris came undone, all y'all are getting backed up in a Bellatrix Jupiter. And look what year it is right now, 1919. As Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, but I saw that this morning in 1919, and the 1919 timeline, 1919 AD, is when all of this connected before uncorrected, but it's still connected, which is then why 4 years later you had a skull and bones that you weren't aware that all DNA types were set in. But it was basically the DNA line from the twins that were holding Polis to Polaris. Okay? So the Venus is pinning, put a pin in it, because it's going to pop out as the human race pushes it out. But there's a pin in it at 2 degrees. Do you know where the Polis setting is? Columbia. You know what Polis is? Your North Star. Go look at a map. This is part of that double 5 flip that we started last year yesterday. So it was November 12th, 2023 that I caught the 5 flip. And it's on my TikTok at Princess Chesty if you want to go. I reposted it yesterday. So it took us a year to do the first 5. And what I say by 5 flip, it's basically if you're in a dome and you're a beam of light and you hit this direction, then it's how it comes back this direction, because it's what it was. So it took a year to get this pinned, and everything just flipped again from that same sequence. It took a year to travel and connect it. Now, the cleaned up human DNA form with your brain all connected correctly and the body parts all is as best as we can, because realize that over time, and it's going to take a while, but over time, there's going to be body parts that are in our body that we don't need. That the only reason that we had those organs is because they were being played by organs and everybody was having to share organs down here because of the amount of gas of the OA changing. So there's organs that you have in your body that we won't have in these higher templates. You don't even need them. It's vampiric, the reason that you have them. The reason that you have certain organs is to keep you connected to every other human down here so that you can have organs. Well, you don't need that anymore. You're going to be self-sustaining. But when you first break out of the matrix, this is what is so fucking hard. Whenever you first activate, this is the part that makes you want to quit. This is the part that you're like, I don't know if I can do this. Yeah, this is just too hard. This is just too hard. And we fucking understand, because we were there 2017, 2018, but we were blown completely into space and there was nothing there. The only thing that we had as a connection was a heartstring and the fact that there were other living beings within our DNA line. And y'all called this back in. There was nothing else there. Everybody that's in it now, everything's co-hued. I'm telling you, it's co-hued. Every single DNA strand down here has been redone and connected in order to get a pure sequence. Every single healer that has been on this planet since the existence in any form connected into healings that took over 12,000 years in order to complete. And the Akashic libraries for all that for 72 million years connected into Venus transits that had to do their little 5-point turns all the way around this son of a bitch. That's the knowledge we have. The knowledge of this wheel. Y'all have all the decorations. That's what's being pinned right now. A quincunx is two planets that had a conversation. So Venus had a conversation with Mars a long time ago. Whenever Venus and Mars were side by side. If you happen to have Venus and Mars side by side on any of your charts, then your Venus and Mars are then it's like those of you that are holding Venus and Mars side by side, y'all were holding this. The only reason y'all had both of those is so Venus could send these signals to Mars right now. Venus is going, yo, hey, remember our deal? Remember our deal? Yeah, it is math. Thank you, Yellow. Thank you, Yellow. Yes, it is math. And it's sacred geometry. You're very correct. Venus is going, yo, Mars, remember when we got separated and you got made into Mars and I got made into Venus and they told us that we were going to have to go on the other side of the wheel and fucking stand back to back and freaking run this bitch for a while? Or, hey, Mars, you remember when we weren't back to back? You remember when we were at least facing each other? You want that to happen again? Yo, Mars, do you want a bunch of crazy bitches hopped up on the internet? Yo, Mars, do you want a woman that's going to actually work with you and help you build? Or do you want one of these fucking clone bitches who just thinks that they need your current? Yo, Mars, guess what? You ended up being that to me. Get your shit straight. You can't even come in over here yet, Mars. Remember, Mars, I'm over here holding up Leo for you. Venus is going, yo, Mars, remember that Venus retrograde whenever y'all were all laughing, dancing on our grave and calling us the two witnesses? Yo, Mars, if you don't get your shit together, it's going to happen to you. And if you don't really get your shit together, there's another section of you that's going to go into the orbit of Jupiter, and I think it's going to crash and burn with Mercury, and Mercury will be the first one to go in the end. Like, Mercury is going to be the first planet that just disappears. We don't need Mercury anymore. Mercury's the problem. Mercury's the problem. Mercury's going to keep a right brain and a left brain disassociated. Mercury's keeping all the right brain pieces together, all the left brain pieces together, but Mercury doesn't understand the mixture of those. It's just fucking static. Why is Mercury there? Because the right brain and left brain stop talking to each other. What's Mercury do? Help those talk to each other. What'd they put in the vaccines? Mercury. What's temperature control? Mercury. How are they seeing the heat sensors? Mercury. Why is Mercury there? To hold mental timelines and to be able to activate those timelines into the collective so that the entire collective is getting the same story, because we've been doing that for 7 years. In fact, the whole world's been on a loop for 7 years, to the point that everyone's finally starting to realize that Biden wasn't even the president. Well, if Biden wasn't the president, then what was happening? We were on Mars in an 8-house system, and politics had died, and they fucking knew it. See, Trump ran in a presidential election. Okay, then that's what he is, a president. What he's hoping is that he's going to become the new dictator, because the presidential system went out with the AB negative bloodline. Presidential system went out when red and blue made purple. How long have we had purple down here? So what's also happening with Mars and the masculine side of yourself, we're getting pulled out of space. And I'm even meaning like those of us who are holding this ancient human template and that have gone through this entire rebirthing process as it's still setting with the human race. Mars and Venus had to go two different directions. Mars and Venus have not been able to work together. In fact, Mars was hired to take out Venus. At the end of days, Mars made all of his money by selling Venus. So the masculine form of yourself was always selling the feminine form of yourself. What's the feminine form of yourself? What does your feminine form do? It creates. What does your feminine form do? It controls time. It controls energetics. So as a human race, and this is not one race, not one being, not oneness, as a human race, what we did, and the lesson from this big fucked up experiment was that don't sell off your feminine side. And don't sell any woman. Do not pay for any woman. Because what you're doing is just selling yourself. Then you get stuck in a job with a time clock. You get paid by the hour. You're in a hamster wheel. You don't have time to create because you can't control time because we allowed them to make a clock to control it for us. Well, what was the clock? The wheel. What was the wheel? The feminine form of yourself. Lost. Just look at what we've had to do in order to break the wheel that the human race put on ourselves as because we were dead. We were in a space. I mean, the original Matrix was put up because the human race was going through an area of space, and nobody knew that nobody knew they was dead. The original Matrix, which is the Matrix that now is this higher ascended timeline, not the Matrix on Mercury hooked up to a freaking masculine version that just wants to take yourselves out real quick and wants to repeat what happened last time. So you can bring in a bunch of flying cars. They're not even trying to bring in a dragon. They're trying to bring in the flying cars. Let me explain something to y'all. When I talk about Trinity DNA codes, what I mean is numbers like 353, 121, 242. They're going to have this, it's going to be a 3-digit code, and there's going to be 2 digits on the outside, and then there's going to be 1 in the middle. If it's 353, then what's 3 plus 5? 8. What's 5 plus 3? 8. So that's a third dimensional, 353 is a third dimensional 369 reality sequence. That then breaks down to 8 plus 8, 16, which breaks down to 1 plus 6, which was 7. Well, the whole realm was since 4004 BC, I think it might even be BCE, was 88 dimension. And it was first pulled in Poland, and then it became an American pole in Aurora, Colorado. To hold the Aurora, 88D is made from 7th dimensional beings. Problem is, 7 is a 1-dimensional number. What's 1 dimension? Ash, bone, blood, fiber. What's 2 dimension? An organ, a vein, a virus inside your body, a blood flow inside your body. What's a 3rd dimensional number? Now it's turned on in a Trinity grid. The entire technical world is building what they think are flying car highways, and they're using 353 sequences to do it. So in their physics world, they're just seeing these weird wormholes, and they're like, oh, we can just change these wormholes, and it's a 353 sequence, and it's an 88D, and that's at 88D. So we're just going to build flying car racetrack for everybody to fly cars around in. You know what 353 is? Your intestines. It's your intestine system. Coming from the cosmos, being formed in the cosmos, which is why we have intestines the way they are, which is why they're as long as the way they are, which is why there's worms in them. But I mean, look at them. Why is it? I mean, realize your intestine is just like an umbilical cord. How fucking long is that thing? It's disgusting how long that thing is in us. I guarantee you it gets shorter. I guarantee you inside the human body it's going to get shorter. It's just stretched. I had to go up to him and tell him. It happened at a Hyatt. It all went down at the Hyatt in Anaheim on top of Disney as I was getting out of the dark side of the sun. And I had to go up to him and tell him, because it's a big technical convention. They had the technical convention going on the same time as a dance convention, which is how do you move energy in space? Sound. You don't have a body. This is why we speak all these light languages. When I first activated, I only spoke 2 light languages. Actually, in the beginning, I only spoke 1, Enochian. Hasekerantara sekerantori miratara sekeramote. Hara sekera shakaramo ay sekera nda ahayinde e sekeramo o sekera nana ay. Ase esiko ohayinde e seke. Then I got this one. Hoshantondere sekendo mbonde e. That's Alpha Drac. Then, when I got into the bottom of the ocean, in order to purify all this matrix simulation bullshit, and then I had to come up some gray mountain that I'm still not sure where it is. But the funny thing is, there's a government facility by because there's actually where the girl is that we broke the AI grid in Oregon. We actually have 3 over there, not 1. We have 3 of us over there that have all gotten charts that had to be prepared for this to break it off her, to break it off us. And there's a mountain right there, and she said it's a mountain. I was like, oh my God, is it a gray mountain? I started freaking out. And this is what connects all the spring fields to the fields to the fairs. The original fairs before TV, the world fairs, what they were doing, connecting people, getting everybody to come to the fairs. What was going on in those timelines is the same thing that they're using technology for now, but just on a bigger satellite system, so you're not even going to feel it because it's going to hit a bigger orb first. So it's even worse. But if you were a family that went to fairs, okay, then they were gathering everybody there for a reason, and it was tuning the people to a AB negative presidential system, by the way. Because it's AB negative blood. It's an ABO blood program. AB negs are always going to lead it. It's the problem. It's how they were stealing AB negative adrenochrome and making false AB negatives, and that was the whole thing. They were trying to make OB. They were literally trying to make a blood called OB, and they were telling me just OB positive. Well, that's Obama. My mind just went blah, 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 blah. I've been on here an hour and a half now. Saturn is going to go direct on the 17th. (242). What is that? 166. So what is that? 112. The 2 charts that I did yesterday, one of y'all's code was 112. Whoever that was, this has then the 17th is gonna, oh, and it's 3 days from your chart. Oh, and she, you know what? She also had Venus at 1 degree. Like I had to wait 4 or 5 days to get her to do her chart. I just knew I have to stop hearing anybody in their head. And just so y'all know, whenever y'all order charts, I can hear you like stressing about it. I can even hear some of you bitching about it, that it's been a while since you got a chart. Well, the problem is there's only one astronomist on the planet. Whenever I had to wait for my chart, it took me a month at least to even get in to see her. So realize that whenever I'm doing these, I'm waiting for my cosmic cue, and I'm doing it in the order that they come in because I'm trusting y'all came in and answered the call on time. But when I go to open y'all's charts, they're not just your chart. It all matters who came before you, who came after you, because all of y'all are like that decorator crew that's all forming and getting your etheric bodies now. So her Venus she was having a Venus return on Polis, and in my natal, and she was 1971, and in 1970, by 1972, my Jupiter was here. So the last chart that I did yesterday, I had Venus on Jupiter, and she had Venus on Venus, and it's linked to what's going to happen on the 17th. To give you an idea of what's going to hook in when Saturn goes direct. It's going to hook into this higher DNA strand, this clean DNA strand way up here. Now that doesn't matter at all how far you down are on the rung, because having this now set with Saturn direct at a full human code is then pulling the Alpha Drac and Zeta out of you, and literally like the one that we broke out of AI, I think she might be a little older than a teenager. She had stomach purging for 48 hours to the extent that she called me, and finally she did take her to a emergency facility just because she had been dry heaving for 2 days. I didn't find out about it till yesterday. And as soon as she told me, I knew exactly what it was because I had it happen to me. When this energy came in 2018, after we had rebirthed the planet, I had gotten out of the real estate, and the new Earth sequence had hit the planet for the first time. I had to be in Corpus Christi. And then eventually I had to go across the ferry into Aransas Pass. But this is a reason why this is Corpus Christi. And there's a reason why the Federal Reserve is set right there in Corpus Christi as well on the ocean. Okay? It has to do with money and financial currents. So when I was there, I know that I went out and had some wine and drank a little bit more wine than I should have. And then thought I was just having a hangover the next day. But I started throwing up. I dry heaved for hours, and then finally I had black goo come out of my stomach. And when I saw that black goo, I knew that the reason that I had drank a little bit too much and I had done wine is because I knew it would make me sick. And I had to get that out of my stomach. And it was horrible. I literally thought I was going to die. I was in a hotel room. I was actually in the Kitty Hawk hotel room. The whole thing was nuts. It had to do with planes, Kitty Hawk. And I had to leave the hotel room. I didn't have anywhere to go. I was dry heaving for hours. And I mean, it was awful. If that happens, which that goo in my stomach was mercury. It was holding me in a lower frequency. No matter how it got in there, I had to get it out of my stomach. How else are you, whenever you have a high vibe human body codes, all that is inside your body is gonna flush out. You can't hold germs. Germs don't exist in a higher current. Like, realize that the reason they came after us is because this ends all disease, it ends all medical, it ends hospitals, it ends nursing, it really does to an extent. You can basically think about that way, the way that the whole thing has taken over the world and it's all there is. The only reason that you're going to need to go to a doctor is if something is broken and you need to get it taken out. We are already there. We can heal your cancer. Problem is, if you think that we can't, you will get it back. You'll go in and get tested and they'll say, nope, cancer's gone. And then you're going to run it through your head so many times. And then you're going to convince yourself you have it again. And then you might get it again. Or you're going to see it as a blessing and go, oh shit, we just healed me. But I'm letting you know that that's where we're at. And then 2 days later on the 19th, this baby's going to move 6 more degrees and step back into Aquarius. And we are done with this. While the mother is taking charge because Venus is running Capricorn. Their bloodlines are gone. What's happening when Venus is running through here is that there's another harp system that's being built from all the ones that have been doing the clearing and holding this. So if you just came out of your shadow period and you were like me up all night and congratulations, because you are an original bloodline for the next million years. I just got chills all over my body. You and your children and your children's children and your children's children and your children are in the founding root race because this harp blew. The old harp is gone. We basically had to take this Capricorn harp and put it out in space further. And we had to do that last year because there's no longer as many strands. You're not going to have as many strands to have to go through. In fact, the whole point is to set up. It's just all this is doing now is it's just going to, Venus is going to flow through the heart, put them all together and come into Aquarius, come into Pisces. And then when we step down here, oh shit. Everybody just better move out of the way. We've done everything we can. We have warned everybody down here. They have done nothing but attack us. They set up an entire virtual reality that doesn't fit with anything that is coming in. And there's going to be a lot of fucking destruction. The good news is those of us who know what to do with destruction in the middle of it can make some really great shit out of it. The problem is if you're unconscious, you just think great shit's just coming if you're not involved. And then, oh shit, everything's fine. Nope. We ain't holding the world for you, baby cakes. In 2 more years, this motherfucker's gonna blow again. And then you ain't gonna have no way to run your shit. Then you're gonna become submissive to us, this race that's doing this, and you'll be living in our little body, and in 1,000 years you're going to be pissed off already after the 1,000 years of peace. By 995 years or by 900 years, you're already going to get your own gang to come after the leaders, but all because you're the ones who didn't do your own fucking work. So sit down, because you're only at 900 years and it's going to be 1,000,000 years before this motherfucker breaks again. So you best just relax and get over it. And this is a separation that everyone's talking about. In the spiritual community and in the ascended community and in the conscious community. And the final thing I'll talk about is the yod that's on the sun. The sun is at Scorpio 2, 2151. I'm going to say one more thing about this degree. This degree right here, Lyra 1, your brain is very fucking powerful, and what we say goes. I don't care what the world thinks. You can let them spray their bullshit any way they want. Do not let them detour your mind. Do not. If you do, then you're going to have to walk a year with them, and you'll only have a year. That's the good news. You're going to have to walk with them in that concept and walk it out. Now, there'll be a reason that you went and did that, because there's some shit that you needed to maybe clean up for you and us. But do not. This is all about the mind. It's the first root race. It is the mind, and it is vampiric mind control type energy. It is what it is. But whenever you got everybody down here that's got half a brain, thinking that they got a whole brain, thinking that they're not in some little weird firefly world, working with a whole bunch of CERN people, sacrificing people, they don't even realize all that shit. They don't get an opinion. Not if it's for the highest good of whichever opinion's going to have the highest good for mankind is what's going to hold. This is why Kamala Harris could not believe it. And you could not convince anybody in that Democratic Party that they weren't going to win, because that's how they've been doing it. They just get it in their mind. They set their mind. It was running on a Zeta Drac fucking in-between sequence that was made only by industry and Hollywood and stolen codes. And then you wonder what happened. They showed you how the whole thing was set up by the founding fathers. Go look back in history when the first Democrat came in. First Democrat president. First Democrat president, first time they cooked. And I'm pretty fucking sure that Woodrow Wilson was the next one. And that's the one that I knew that was the timeline, because that was the first Matrix president. Calvin Coolidge was next. But the first Skull and Bones, Mason, Apron, Illuminati, if you want to call it that. But it's really MJ-12. Okay. Well, so I just wanted to talk to y'all about that, because it doesn't matter if you have this energy or not. You're in the consciousness of Lyra Ones now. You're being trained to be a Lyra One. I don't care if you are or not, but it's just pole position from the human on the outside of the wheel. You following me? Because you're getting all your parts. You're coming out of one where you only have this degree, this degree, this degree, this degree. It's already formed up here. It's uncoiling you to put you in the right position. You have the whole thing. So everyone's getting Lyra 1 energetics. You're also going to be the people around you. Once this ability starts coming in, you're going to start realizing that people do what you tell them to, and they have to. And you'll be tested to make sure you're not abusing that. And anybody around you that's in your same thought process will probably be asked in some way by spirit to make sure that they're making their own decision. That's a really good indicator that you're in this energy. Okay? Ascended Collective's in it right now with Venus, and we're printing it. This yod with Scorpio 2, what happens with Scorpio 2? It shows up in your life. So what's weird is like nothing for me, but for me, I've been in this house, I've been sequestered, I've been only around a 1950 B negative and a 1940 O that was both of them templates. And this was us, and this is why I had to be with them, because we were activating and retuning the baby boomers, because they had y'all started incarnating 52 in order to seed us. Okay, so it's like, and we're not going to leave any piece behind. This is why, don't worry, nobody's going to get left behind. If they get left behind, it's a decision they made. I know this for a fact because I was involved so much in breaking the curses off the lines and clearing the bloodlines. This is why I don't just make this shit up. I've been shown, okay? In Scorpio 2, it shows up in your life. And so I haven't had anybody physically show up in my life, but my dad did. David, the neighbor, who's a New Orleans preacher, happened to come over yesterday out of the blue and say, Al, there's a veteran that lives in the neighborhood, and he's just old and he's alone, and I want to make him some brownies. Will you come with me to go visit him? And right then, I didn't even realize this was going on outside. I walked out of the door and I walked in on the middle of this conversation, and I was like, okay, so David's showing up. David, the New Orleans preacher, and he's got to take Al to see the veteran. But that actually makes sense because in 2020, when I went into the catacombs, like Al's going to have to walk through some of these pieces in the physical. My point is, David showed up. So anybody, and this is also Trump showed up, Elon showed up. All these characters that are getting popped into place right now, no matter what it is, okay, it's the magic showing up. If you don't want to interact with it, don't. See why it's there. Because as this gets closer and closer to 29, it's going to get more and more powerful how it's showing up. But remember, it's still in Scorpio. So it's literally like the lower dimensional versions of everything. Have you noticed too how Trump has beaten women? And do you notice that whenever Trump is running, they'll even take out a Biden to put in a Harris in order to run against him? Do you want to know why? Because he wasn't running for president. He really wasn't. We weren't even in that timeline anymore. Presidency's over. We're in future timelines that the rest of the collective's not even aware of existed. The only reason we are is because that's where we got court-martialed and cut off from the human race for the past million years on every 12,000 year cycle. Happens to be why we're all connected and stretched out over space-time, changing every single meeting that's happening or every single connection that happened in what you'd call time, in a time that you think hasn't ran down here, but it's already run. We're out of time. Trump it's the divine feminine and Trump running against each other. It's what it is. See, that's why they put a woman running against him, because in their thought process, if everyone is ready, that y'all are going to know this because it's what's happening in the ethers, because it's reenacting down here. So it's not their fault, it's their perspective that everyone doesn't remember what time it is, because they do. But that's not even an election process, which is why they have to have a Trump to show up and face off with it. But it's also why the Democrats thought for sure everybody would vote for the woman. But it's why then the Democrat people that think that that party, I command everybody who voted, anybody who voted, if you voted for the Republicans, then you wanted your money and you wanted your life back and you wanted to be able to fucking function. If you were a Democrat, you thought that you were ascending the planet because y'all's all woke. But you were woke and attached to a Zeta Reticuli entity that wasn't going to hit the whole planet. It could only hold 2 billion. So everybody that voted, I command that you see what you were voting for is consciousness, and I command everybody who voted be shock activated. Including all the stolen votes when Biden ran that had all the extra votes that put him over the top that came out of nowhere. Well, I know how that happened. Those are beings from the future. So it wasn't what Trump was screaming about, wasn't that, because he knew he had fucked with the line. He knew he did. It was written. I did too. That was made off a bunch of stolen identities and some beings in negative space that all of a sudden voted from death. But that's what time it was. Those two were merging. So they just stole future votes. So Kamala, the reason you didn't win has nothing to do with who voted for you, because we all know that that didn't matter anyway. So the reason that you didn't win is because you had already stolen votes to win the first time. The reason Trump won is because really we're in 2020 again and we're getting a do-over. Because the last 4 years basically just had to recook the human race in order for Trump, the Jewish people, everybody that handed him the power, that said that he has Christ and that he's Christ. Really? 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 Come on now. Come on now. If y'all think that he's Christ, then you deserve it. You deserve it. And you'll have 4 years to witness it. But what you're going to witness this next 4 years is you're going to see the real divine feminine. You're going to see the real fucking Christ. And there won't be any question. And you'll never doubt it again. That's what Spirit's doing for you. It's why the angels are here. We ain't here to pull you out of it completely. We can't. It's impossible. If you haven't noticed, we've got to pull ourselves out with all of y'all connected to us. And it doesn't even matter if we know you or not. That's what you have to unwind yourself from. You've got all the keys from it. All we can do is tune you up, give you direction, and then explain to you as the shit starts happening in your life why it's happening, because the physics are changing. I'm not going to talk to you about any spiritual deities. I'm not going to talk to you about any entities. I'm not going to talk to you about all this. I mean, the only ones I really talk about are Yahshua and that line and how it's connected into Sagittarius, because it happens to be the base root of the body system. The rest of it is just physics that you have to balance out as your frequency is getting higher and higher, and you're holding cosmic energy in a real etheric body. Because in 2 years, we won't be able to hold a giant gummy bear anymore. Right now, we're 2 giant gummy bears. In fact, we're 2 giant turtles that both lost their shells, that went into one turtle shell that's really fucking big, but we don't even look like turtles in the in-between right now. It was made from a bunch of goo and codes, so it's a big ass gummy bear. Well, we're 2 gummy bears holding the whole entire world with no shell. The cosmos is your shell. Go look at all the constellations again, and then go look at a turtle shell. So in 2 years from now, what's going to happen is those 2 beings, well, 1 year from now even, those 2 beings is going to become 2,000, 2 million. I don't know. That's up to the human race. That's I don't know. Like, we want to get as many as possible, as quick as possible. In 2 years from now, I know for sure there'll be enough of us standing, not just 2. There'll be 20, 200, 2,000. I don't know. Maybe 1,000. Wink, wink. I mean, right now, maybe we only need 100. But you're running the higher self of the higher self of the higher self. So when all these people are on TikTok talking about their higher self came and told me, or whenever I talk to one of you and I'm opening up your chart and you're like, oh my gosh, my higher self just told me that. Basically, you're speaking to her in a weird way whenever I'm connected to you. You're somebody else's higher self. You're going to keep embodying those higher selves until you put back together the sequence, and not all of you have to go back to one, because you already realize it came from one. So even that big gummy bear, even those 2 gummy bears, and that analogy that I just gave about the 2 gummy bears and the missing 2 shells, and they're in one big shell, that is even what is manifesting up in the cosmos right now. It really is like the biggest galactic game of chicken you've ever seen. It's like one big black blob that's coming for us. But what's crazy is whenever we go through it, it just turns to crystal and tunes to us. It doesn't even rock our boat anymore. Not at Eagle. Not at Eagle. We just turn it when we come through it. Now, we might not see it totally, what we turned it into, until the sun gets over here to Aquarius, but it's retuning all those lines to, and everybody that's on TV that's an actor or a singer or whatever, all that is going to be changing quick. Well, not the politics. The entertainers are going to be changing quicker with the ones that are showing up on your screen. And it's not going to be for entertainment reasons that they're showing up. It's going to be for being a fucking powerful healer. The new celebrities, I mean, what are you talking about? You can sing. We can all sing. What are you talking about? You can channel songs. We can all do that. What do you mean? You can rhyme real fast. Hello. Whenever you're a vacuum chamber and you're totally running on a quantum mind path, then all you can hear is rhymes. That isn't the reason. What you can channel, you're going to write a story about your past. Okay, we all have stories. Like the new movies and stuff that are going to be coming out are going to be better than ever. But because it's truth, and truth is stranger than fiction. The reason that they called it fiction is because they were taking it from truth and fictionalizing it enough to make you disassociate. So I needed to come on today. I don't know about y'all. It's been 2 hours I've been on here. It's 1:20 run right now. It's 2:14. I know this has been a super long video, but I don't know if you feel better. I feel better. My internal body isn't shaking as bad. A lot of the times whenever you have backed up energetics, if your energy is just, then I don't care if you like, some of you have to tell other people. If you've got a lot of energy in the third house, if you've got a lot of energy in the third house of your chart, then how you alchemize it and get that energy off of you is by saying it. They're literally codes that are backed up in your brain that have formed a sentence, and it's not just for you. You telling that sentence to whoever it is that your spirit is telling you to tell it to, whether it's on social media, call your friend, whatever it is, do it. That is what's going to help balance out your current. Your physical body is holding too much energy by itself. Whenever you get in that energetic, whoever you feel like you need to call or whatever collective you need to show up to say it to, notice how you feel better and more balanced when you get it all out. Because we're not meant to hold it. We're meant to hold it, process it, get it out, move on. Hold it, process it, get it out, move on. If you're not getting it out, then you're getting backed up. And the connections that you need to connect with your voice. And why do we need to do that? Because the way that they were running it was connecting it with telecom and satellite and Wi-Fi lines. So if you're triangulated to a whole bunch of people through your energetic, through a Wi-Fi line, then you probably have a social media channel, and you probably need to show up and start talking to people. I don't care if you don't think that you know what you're doing or not. This is the problem. The problem is that whenever healers and all the humans think, oh, I've got to master this in order to show up and talk about it. No, that's actually ass backwards. The problem is beings like me who have done this for 7 years and who have cleaned out all the garbage and at least can show up and like perfect it just a little bit for you. Y'all no longer feel all the stuff that I was going through, and then it takes you longer to understand what I'm saying. Believe it or not, when you show up in your feels in a panic and whatever the fuck energy you're feeling right then, it's how you're calling in your tribe. It's called Train the Trainer, and it is very fucking necessity in spiritual work. It's why you always have a mentor. It's why you're always looking for who's going to replace. And the mentor's job and the mentee's job, the mentee's job is to find their mentee for when they become the mentor. Because to the masses and to the people, they can't hear us whenever we're crystal clear. They got to hear you when you're going through your shit. And you're supposed to be connecting with all them to clear your shit. So I feel better. I hope you feel better. The Big Bang banged into pi. Well, actually, not in the beginning, because pi wasn't even a thing. Pi is a man-made construct. In the beginning, the Big Bang formed a bunch of planets in a system to run the body of an unconscious collective that was about to lose their body. Planets only show up when you're about to lose it all. Planets only show up whenever the human collective forgot about the entire birthing process that goes on, that the RH negatives in negative space have been dealing with since the existence, which is why your AB negatives were and had become the originals of a vampiric race, and we had to be activated and woke back up here in order to deal with the undead. That's what pi formed. What the Big Bang formed is just all your energies out in space in the star energetics that were associated to the times that you had been down here in this wheel since the existence of Lumeria and the wheel. Y'all give me a thumbs up, please, 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 please. I'm going to end this because it's... Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Jesse. And I'm not saying you're wrong. And hey, Jesse, that's a perfect example of a decorator that we need. See? You need me as the highest conscious that understands this to hold the fact that pi can't change shit. That doesn't mean that pi doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that pi doesn't need to be unraveled. That's the decorators. Please, God. Let's decorate! I'll see y'all soon.